Okay, hope I'm audible. Okay, hi everyone. Hope I'm audible. My audio is clear and display, screen share, everything good. Uh, okay, so we'll start now. Sorry for the delay. There was some glitch on the technical side. Okay, thank you all for joining today's session. Today we have a topic. This was a request topic from few community members as they were asking how I'm doing this VS Code, all those things, how I can do this editing, the remote files, etc. So you have this option in VS Code, and today we will learn how to do this VS Code remote development. Okay, let's start. So today we have a small agenda. We will have the introduction, then yeah, of course the introduction is already here. Then what is Ansible automation, then some editors, what are the editors you can use for Ansible development, then how you can use the VS Code remote development for Ansible. Then we will have a demo how to see how to do this in real time. Okay, so Ansible is an open source automation tool. You all know, I don't need to explain, but let me just give the intro. So this is open source automation tool where you are using the symbol automation language called YAML, and you can use this Ansible for automating most of your IT infrastructure operations. When we talk about the features, yes, it's a simple, powerful, and agentless. So we are not going in deep. Then the important part. Okay, so you have to edit this Ansible playbook. We know it's very important. Like Ansible playbook, we use a YAML format where you need to be careful on the indentation, spacing, hyphen, all those things. So you have to use a good editor. So for normal case, we can use any editor. Like not some are using Notepad. I don't blame them. Maybe that's the only option they can use. For Ansible, actually, we have a few options available. Actually, you have other options as well. But for these, let me just list like VS Code, which is the Visual Studio Code, which is open source editor software. Then you have Atom, then you have Emacs, PyCharm. PyCharm is mostly focused on the Python development thing. Then you have Sublime and also Vim Editor. So Vim Editor is something different. You know, it's available on the Linux, and it's a text editor or text-based editor. There is no CLI. You can use the Vim Editor mostly on much of the Linux. You just need to install additionally. Some of the systems are coming with Vim by default. So when you use Ansible, if you're editing on the CLI, of course, you will be using Vim or Nano. So for the other GUI editors, you need a GUI or desktop interface on your machine. And we know Ansible, you can install only on Linux at the moment or Unix. You should have a GUI. So we are not talking about the Windows operating system here. For GUI, if you talk about the Ansible engine or Ansible servers, of course, you will not have this GUI option most of the time. So you don't have option to install this. Most of the time, you will not have an option to install this, or you are not allowed to install these GUI editors. So what we do, we will see how we can use this editor, or specifically the VS Code for remote editing. So we will see how. What is the problem with the GUI editor? So first thing, Ansible machine or the Ansible engine, whatever you are running the Ansible playbook, um, will not have the GUI most of the time. You know, the server will be installed without GUI, and of course you cannot install or use the VS Code. The next one is maybe the GUI is available, but you are not allowed to install the GUI editor or any kind of software on the Ansible machine. So you cannot access the remote desktop like the Windows RDP. You can you cannot use it. So no option, like you cannot install any GUI editor for editing on the Ansible machine, the playbook and execute. Yeah, it's not possible. Next thing with the CL editors, of course, the only option is CLI like Vim or Nano. Then the issue is, yeah, we need more effort on editing. Very few or less plugins available. We cannot call this a real IDE or a real text editor. It's not like easy. If you put some space or extra space or some tab, it won't be really visible. You can add few plugins to make it like useful for the Ansible editing or YAML editing, but still is not a uh, kind of not what actually not useful. Then switching also not easy. Like you have to edit the playbook, then you have to execute the playbook, then you have to come back. Yeah, it's not really easy. So these are the problems we are facing with the editor, right? Now how you are doing this editing now. So you have your Ansible control node, which will be a Linux machine, of course. Then you will have the managed node like cloud servers or cloud infrastructure, servers, network, then your normal nodes, switches, firewalls, whatever it is. Okay. Then from Ansible node, you will connect to the target nodes or managed nodes. Most of the time, this and their setup will be inside a data center or private network. Surely you will not have option to directly connect to these machines. So you have to use the VPN or whatever the things. Okay. Now your machine is outside of this network. So you are sitting in your office or maybe home right now, or from home or whatever it is. Then you connect to the office network or the data center network using the VPN, and you connect to the Ansible control node using SSH. Okay. If you have any other options or you are doing in different way, please comment. Okay. Now uh, this setup is I think this is most of the time this is the setup. So you connect to your Ansible control node over SSH, over putty or whatever your client. If you are connecting from a Mac, maybe you have the item or you are using any different machine. So the issue is you have to open multiple SSH session, multiple consoles to see editing on one window and playbook execution on another window, checking logs on another machine. Maybe you want to connect to the one of the nodes, then you need another window like that. Now this is the issue. So you have to keep a lot of windows open and check, okay, edit on one screen. So on the same Ansible to the same Ansible node, you have to connect with multiple SSH session and do this. It's not really effective. Like yeah, you know that, right? So you have to connect and all. What if you can use a GUI editor directly inside these, but without installing a GUI editor on the target machine? That's what we are going to learn now. So the better way is we have the same setup, Ansible control node, the manage nodes, everything in the network. Then you have the workstation. Then you connect to the workstation from the workstation to the Ansible control node using VSCode Remote SSH. Okay. So same method, but the Remote SSH is a bit different. I will show how. So this is the difference. So earlier it was a SSH session, multiple SSH session, multiple SSH window. Maybe you can use some Terminator kind of program to connect in the, I mean, kind of a multi sessions, multi tab window, but still is a just the SSH only. Here we will see what. So this is the internal of the VS Code remote development. Here you have the local OS. It can be your Mac operating system, Windows, or Linux, because you know the VS Code is available for Linux, Windows, and Mac. Then you have the normal VS Code. The normal VS Code, you know this is your VS Code. You can open anything and edit it here. Okay. Now we are talking about a remote operating system. Maybe this is your Ansible machine or your any, actually it can be any machine, any machine where you have your source code, you have all the uh, items inside. So you want to edit this from here to here, right? So you have to install a VS Code server. You don't need to do anything manually. I will show you how. You just need, of course, you need, if you are connected, then it will be easy. If you are a disconnected setup, like if your remote OS cannot reach internet, then you have to do something. Yeah, of course, that one you can check the documentation. So this is the setup. So you have the local operating system, and the remote OS we are talking about maybe here in this case is Ansible. Okay. Now we have some prerequisites. One is a open SSH compatible SSH client. So you should have something called like either your, if you are Linux, then good, you have the open SSH client. If you are on Windows, then you can try with not the putty. You should have something like Git Bash or something like that. Then will be useful. So for Mac, you can use Item or any other compatible open SSH client. I'm talking about the client. Then you need Visual Studio. Of course, you need Visual Studio on your main machine or your workstation, laptop, or whatever you call. Then you have to enable the remote SSH extension on your VS Code. That's it. Okay. Now, if you check, I will show you how to install this. Here you can see this is from Microsoft, and the description you can see: open any folder on remote machine using SSH and take advantage of VS Code's full feature set. That means you are using the VS Code on the same workstation, but actually you are editing the files on the target machine. Okay, good. Now, okay, this just I put the slide because let's say if you want to quickly create some Ansible lab, we have few articles here. So what I did is before the session start, I created this Ansible lab. So I have one Ansible node and Ansible engine. So I quickly create maybe 2 minutes using Terraform and in AWS. So I have that. If you want to check, you can have this article. I will give you the description. I will give you the link for this URL or the lab details in the video description later. This one is very quick because whenever you want to install a or you want to spin up a lab on AWS, you can do it from anywhere. So it's just you just need the Terraform code. It will create a few machines. You can see here Ansible node, Ansible engine, and it will configure few SSH keys, all those things. So you can have your Ansible lab anytime. It's using T2 Micro, so you can try this one. Because you don't need to create the virtual machines, you configure the SSH keys, configure the inventory. You don't need to do that. So it's very simple and straightforward. Okay, now this is already created. I just recorded the session here. So it will also do some Ansible playbook inside to configure the Ansible engine and Ansible nodes. So I have the lab here. Now I will go back here. So this is my Ansible engine IP. Usually what you do, okay, hope this is something readable. So usually you have this Ansible, or you have this SSH. I'm using VS Code. This is a VS Code. I'm using inbuilt terminal here. So usually what you do, SSH, EC2, user, then IP. Sorry, I didn't copy that one. So this is my IP, then okay, now I am connected to Ansible engine. So I will do like Ansible, my playbook, something like that, and execute it. But the issue is I'm still using the remote SSH and the Vim. It's not really perfect, or it's not that productive. So what you'll do here, then I want to playbook, right? So I have to open another window, then another window like that. So now we are going to connect directly using VS Code. So for that, the first thing you have to do is go to the plugins, or you call extensions. Then you search for remote. So when you do the remote, it will show the remote containers, remote SSH, remote WSL. I think by name you will know what is it. Containers means you can do the same thing on the containers. Like you can log into the container and do the editing inside the container, but using the same VS Code interface. That's good, right? Then you can do the same thing for WSL. Let's say you are using Windows Subsystem for Linux, and you don't want to do these things. You have some Linux machine, or you want to edit something inside the machine, but without using the normal SSH, you can install this plugin and do this. In our case, this is the plugin we need, Remote SSH. And in our case, I already installed this. It's just installation is very simple, just install, that's it. No need to do anything, restore, nothing. Here we have already installed it. Once you install this plugin or extension, you will see this small, okay, maybe I can show that if it's not really visible. Okay, hope you can see the small icon show here, left bottom. You can see something here. If I click here, it will ask to connect to the host. Okay, I think there are some comments. I will give you the links very soon. Sorry, I will give you. So it will ask me to connect to the host. In my case, my host is not added in my host file. So what I have to do, I have to create the host. If I connect host, it will say, okay, whatever the existing host available here, it will show. In my case, I have to connect to a new host. So I have to connect to a Windows host. So you have two options. So here I connect to host, then you can add new SSH host. In our case, the SSH host is Ansible engine. So what we have to do, copy this Ansible engine IP, add new SSH host. When you add the SSH host, because I'm on my Mac machine, you have to do the same command. User, hope this is clear. If you have comments, let me know, because EC2 user is the default user for AWS, and I have configured my SSH keys for this one. If you have any question on that kind of connections, let me know. So I tell, okay, connect EC2 user at the public IP. Enter. Now the VS Code will ask where I want to keep this connection information or host information. We have two options. One is the public or the system etc ssh ss underscore config, or I can put that in my home directory, my own personal or something user specific configuration. So I do like here, because if you are using the shared system, of course you keep in your home directory ssh config file. Okay, then it's already open. If you want to see, you can see the content of this host file. You can see, okay, this is added here with the host name UC2. That's it. Now we have added the host file. This is a one-time job. If you have an Ansible machine, or if your target machine is always same IP, it's just one-time job. Otherwise, yeah, you have to do. Now we go to connect here again, connect to the SSH host. Then it will show here with the IP. If you want to change the name, then you have to change it. Like I put like Ansible AWS. Okay, I save it. Go to connect to host. It will show here with the name. You can give any name, but the IP is different. Okay. So I tell this now yet. So now we have this VS Code. It's opening again, but this time you can see the opening remote option here. On the left bottom, you can see opening remote, which means VS Code is connecting to the target machine using SSH, but it will do something inside. Okay, it's already connected. Now you click on this one. This is your remote Ansible directory. So what you will do, this is our VS Code. We connected, sorry, my bad. So this is the default SSH connection we have here. So what we will do, we will do one thing. We will just clone this repository here in EC2 home directory. Now we have this home directory here. So this is the SSH connection. This is the remote VS Code. Please check this one. Okay, you have SSH to the Ansible AWS machine. Now you open folder here is showing the directory or the disk on your Ansible engine, not the local machine. Got it? So what we are going to do, okay, whatever the repository I have added or whatever the directory you want to add, and wait for that. That's it. So it will ask you to trace the key, all those things. Yes, I trust. See, I can edit. This is all on the remote machine. Okay, all on remote machine. And yeah, this is the thing. So okay, let me go through this. Okay, so here, remember the connection here. You are on the remote Ansible engine now, or any machine. You can do this for any other development, Java or Python, whatever it is. But in our case, we are doing this for Ansible. Now you have the repository. Usually, the recommended practices, of course, you keep your Ansible playbook and the configuration inside the repository, right? Now, for example, I want to edit this one, so I can directly edit this one. For example, maybe this one. Okay, I can edit this one. I can do the same VS Code, all the features here. I want to edit the ansible.cfg. I want to edit the host file. Everything I can edit and save it. What if I want to execute the playbook? I want to execute the playbook from here, right? You don't need to go back and execute because VS Code got internal or inbuilt or integrated terminal. You can integrate anything. If you are Windows, you use the Git bash. If you are on Linux, you can use existing terminal, or on Mac you can use item, whatever it is, you can integrate. So you open new terminal, check this one. You are inside the Ansible engine. Still, we are using the VS Code on our local machine, my Mac machine here, and but the actual data, terminal, everything you are using on the target machine. Good or what, right? So this is a good thing. This is a simple thing. You just need to connect to the target machine. It will do some installation on the target machine. That's it. So you can do this is the same VS Code. You can do all the operations like your normal VS Code server. Okay, even you can do the Git. You can add additional plugins. Everything we will see how now. So in our case, let's say I want to test something here. Clear cd ansible list to string ansible playbook. Okay, I'm developing, or I can edit everything on my local machine. I can edit the file on the remote machine still from the local from my local laptop or local MacBook. Or you can add install plugin. For example, for the Ansible, I need to install the Ansible extension. So I search here, I can find, okay, there is a extension from Red Hat. And if you check, when you install this, it's installing on inside the target machine. We don't need to install this on the local machine, right? Local laptop. We need this plugin on the target machine. So I enable this, install it, and it will install on the machine. So still we are using the VS Code on this machine, but actually we are editing on the target machine. Is that clear? Any question? Please ask. That's it. That's simple. If you want to add few more extensions, like you are editing the YAML, if you want to add something, you can add the YAML. Now it's already installed because it's part of the Ansible thing. If you want to add the Docker, let's say you want to add the Docker, you want to manage the Docker container or Docker editor, all those things from your remote, then you can install all those things. Good. Yeah, that's it. So this is a remote VS Code thing, because I found a lot of guys when they share the screenshot or something, I can see they are using the what you call the normal method, like many windows open, and it's not really productive. If your environment is not allowing this, then I can understand. If your environment allowing using the VS Code on your workstation or your whatever, the computer, laptop, or desktop, then you can do this. And yeah, the GUI editing will be faster. So try this. So you just need to enable the plugin or extension, connect it. You can add you can add any number of hosts in your etc or your home private SSH configuration file. You just need to connect. Remember this connection. So if you have two VS Code open, for example, here I have two VS Code. This is the remote VS Code. You can check this, and this is my local VS Code. Okay. So we don't need this connection anymore because we have a direct connection with the VS Code where you can edit files like anything, like your these files are on your local machine. Okay, if I want to edit something here, for example, I'm adding here uh okay, apple, mango, orange, something. Okay, I edited, viewed it. That's it. You don't need multiple screen. You don't need to switch between the screens. You can edit anytime. No more error. For example, if I do something here, I will show you. So this is an error, right? Because the internet is not there. You can see the VS Code will automatically show because we have enabled few plugins. It will show, okay, there is a nested mapping issue. There is an implicit key need to be a single. So many error. So if I put this, done, all problems gone. So you don't need to spend a lot of time for troubleshooting because the editor will show you, okay, you have an error or syntax issues here. If you enable the proper appropriate extension, then it will be very faster. You spend very less time for developing your Ansible playbook. Okay, more or less I think that's it. That's all I want to share. So the good thing is, like, you can, for example, you can use the inbuilt git options, everything. For example, here it will show you like, okay, this there is a change in the site.yaml and you can push it here. So in my case, I have the keys and all enabled and I didn't enable this here. If you want to do, you can just like git add, git push, all those things you can do from here. So you keep everything in the git repository. Usually enterprise will do that, right? We are not supposed to keep everything in the uh, local machine. Okay, good. One more thing I want to highlight here, the terminal. When you do that terminal thing here, you can see I'm using this is a set sorry, which is the default one in Mac. If you check here, it will show you bash because we are on the target machine, like the Ansible engine, where the default shell is bash. If I want to split it, I can split it. So this is a good thing about VS Code. So you want to split the terminal, edit something else, but the editing you can do it from here. So you don't really need the Vim anymore. Okay, you just do the Ansible playbook, all those things directly, or the Java or Python, whatever it is. Good. One more thing, VS Code. If you are familiar with the VS Code, you can do this rearrangement. For example, if I want to do this, I can move and back. So one terminal here, one editor here, we can do anything. So editor, I can move around, split it. You can split again. Okay. Try this one. It's very useful. Try your own on your own laptop or workstation and see how it's useful. Good. Um, I think that's all I want to share. So this is how you can do the remote development using VS Code, and you can use it for anything. But in our case, I just show this for Ansible. From the Ansible side, we already shared how to do this thing, like the plugins and all those things. If you need more information, let me know via comment box, chat box. I will share all this information. For the links, I'll share here. The first link is VS Code, how to do this, the documentation portal. You can check here. They have this item how to do, but they are explaining with Azure VM. You don't need to do that. If you have VirtualBox or if you have a VM on uh, Google Cloud, or if you are VM or test machine on your environment, you just need the IP, SSH, or username, password, whatever you have. That's it. You don't need anything else. But it's strictly recommended to proceed with the SSH keys rather than the username, password. So remember that. Also, you can try with the WSL if you want. Then for creating the Ansible lab in AWS, this is a manual way. Uh, so manual way means you have to create all those things one by one. If you are okay, you can do this. But this is using Terraform, where you don't need, you just need one command, Terraform apply. That's it. Your Ansible lab will be ready here. Okay. Whichever you're comfortable, just use it. Because here, if you are using Terraform, The repository is already here. You just need to configure the AWS credential. It will be using T2 micro. You can adjust if you want. Then you can check the repository for Terraform code. You just need Terraform up. That's it. And once you're done, let's say like now I have created this lab. Then I have uh, after this session, after we end this live session, I will just do Terraform destroy. That's it. So I'm using 3 nodes for 3 hours, still within my free tier quota. Good, right? So whenever you need, you can just spin up the lab, destroy it. That's why I told when you destroy, you will lose the code. So always practice to keep your Ansible playbook and configuration inside the Git repository. Please practice that. Okay. Hope I share the link. This one you don't need. Maybe I can keep Terraform Ansible lab. Okay. Mm, that's all I want to share. And think we can okay, yeah, we can open the chat box. So if anything, please ask. Uh, good. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Hope everyone good. Thank you for asking. Since to hope the links you mean this link. Let me know otherwise. These are the documentation how to create the Ansible lab and how to do this VS Code thing, all those things. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, good. And yeah, that's it. So if you want to explore more, as I told, you can try with the WSL. So if you are using Windows machine, and you want to try with the WSL, Windows Subsystem or Linux, with some Ubuntu machine, of course you can try the same thing. You just spin up the WSL, then you use the same VS Code in your Windows machine and connect to the WSL machine. It's very easy. So you just need one VS Code and use the same for all the editing purpose. VS Code, you can install all the plugins and extensions for Python, Java, Node.js, whatever the items, Kubernetes, OpenShift, whatever the things. And also same thing for containers. So for containers, it will be like this. There will be local OS, the one your machine. Then you have to export support, and via the port you will connect to the container, and there will be a VS Code server will be installed inside. Then you have this all container inside. So from here you can access anything like we saw here. Okay. So this is a link for the documentation if you want to refer and explore more. But it's there is nothing to refer. You can just install the plugin and start using it. No need to worry. And yeah, that's it from my side. I think I can answer if you have any questions. Okay. Any questions? Hope it was at least it was useful for some if you are really using VS Code and if you can use the VS Code for your editing. What syntax plugin VS Code for YAML is good in opinion? I'm using YAML. There are multiple plugins. Maybe we can see here. There are multiple plugins. If you check, sorry. I'm using few plugins here. Like here, I'm using the one from Red Hat, which is quite good, and they are updating also. If you check the repository, also you can see it's updating frequently. So this is supporting a lot of options, including the Kubernetes, OpenShift, all those things. So the YAML is very good. So you can see the downloads also pretty, yeah, it's a big number. So you can try this YAML from Red Hat. Hope that's the answer. If you check, there are a few other YAML, like there was another one. Where is it? I think that one they already removed. Cannot see here. I was using another one, but since I found this one, I'm not using any other YAML. YAML extensions. If you want to try with OpenShift or Kubernetes, there are some official plugins from Microsoft. It's good. or you can try something third party also. Okay. Okay. Good. I will see if any other questions. Otherwise, we can end the session. Yeah, it was pretty small session or short session because it's very simple. You just need to try. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for joining. Okay, I wait for maybe 2 minutes something, and we will end the session if no other questions. Thank you. Thank you all. If you are like, if you are interested, we have the videos for learning Ansible from scratch. You can check that. Also, we are doing this Ansible real life series for the real actual use cases with Ansible. You can check that if you are interested. So you have these details and also the repositories, everything inside the video. So yeah, please check that one and if see if it's useful. Also check the OpenShift Bootcamp playbook if you want to learn OpenShift. We are doing this video. It's not very like I'm not publishing this video every week. I'm trying my best to publish it and see if it's useful, and also share the feedback. You can just scan it and share the feedback and also submit the topic for our next sessions. And that's it. Thank you all again and stay safe. Thank you.